but they have to sort of have the 3 first attempts first before it would be escalated as urgent. It's not the first port of call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just call to the call centre email. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And thank you for your advocacy. We, you know, like you said, our clients do need their help, and we do appreciate the work you're all doing. Thank you.
Kia ora, Desley.
Yeah, well, kia ora, it's Alice here. Can you hear me okay?
Alice?
Yeah, kia ora, yeah, in relation to what you just talked about the course, and thank you for trying, by the way. I know sometimes it can be frustrating. Any chance of texting, because when you talk about voicemail, some of our people are pohara. They don't have money to call back, and we know that many can, you know, see a text and are able to do that, but just you know,
Yeah, Alice, really good point. I absolutely agree with what you're saying. Unfortunately, we've had a few technical difficulties with trying to do texting. It's been a little bit hit and miss, so we are still trialing some stuff in that space. We were able to do some bulk texting, but as our computer systems have had to grow so much to take on board the COVID income relief payments and paying wage subsidies and things like that, as we've taken so much on, something's fallen away. So I hear what you're saying, Alice. We will try and pick that up where we can. We're not quite technical enough to be able to say to you, yes, we can do it now, but a really valid point. And we will try and see what we can get happening in that space going forward, Alice.
Kia ora.
Thank you.
I just wanted to have just wanted to relate to your question, Wendy, Brian, in relation to that advocacy role and appointment of agent. From experience with that, if there's complex issues that my clients were you know, if they didn't understand what was going on with their benefits, or if they needed that advocacy, I'd basically jump on board straight away and get an appointment agent form completed by my clients, and that way I'm with them every step of the way in terms of supporting them, advocating them, and also informing them of what's happening with that. I kind of tended to jump on board straight away, especially where there were complex issues. But I think that's a really good question that you've raised there. But I just wanted to encourage you that if you've got that appointment agent form, then definitely have your clients complete that, especially if it's going to make life just that little bit easier for them. Yeah, I just wanted to comment to your question. Kia ora.
Kia ora whai. Also, it's Wiki Toria Nuku. I'm just logged in on Wendy's Wendy's computer.
I was looking at you too and thinking, I'm sure I know you. It was your name, sorry. Sorry. Do we have any other questions in that area? Because what I do want to go to, and I know Desley has touched on it already, but just to clarify the recommended pathways to accessing benefits for our clients, and she has covered it briefly. I just want to go through that again, if we could, Desley, please, just to clarify that situation, especially where they can't, we have these issues around clients who don't have transport or who can't come into the office. So what's the best way for them to engage with you, especially if they're new to applying for benefit?
It would be either online or via the 0800 number, phoning the 0800 number and getting that first contact in with us.
And that's the most important step, because that's then treated as date of first contact, which comes into when we should be starting to look at eligibility and those sorts of things. So absolutely, give us a tinkle, jump online, absolutely. And if they do their online application, a lot of that will come straight through, ready to be processed for us now. So some of our technology is doing okay, and some of it's still a little bit shaky. But in terms of the online space, it's allowing us to give an even better service when a client has done that online, because it'll bring some of that information straight through into the computer session. So it will make it a little bit smoother, less clunky, hopefully, for the client as well. Yeah.
Okay. So when you're out, when we've got clients that are registered with you, with WINZ, they have their number, which gives them access to their details with WINZ. Is that correct?
If they go onto our website, there is a place where they can request their client number, and it sends through a request, and then that's sent to them via email, by the email address that they put in, so that they can then have a client number to do their online applications and things. Yeah.
And MyMSD has sort of the MyMSD online has got more opportunity there for people to use now than it's had. It's got more functionality than it's ever had, and people can apply for assistance on their MyMSD as well.
Cool. Right. All right. Any other questions?
Okay, is there an easier process that can be put in place for people like that are in hospital to be put on benefits for the first time? Because we get different information from different people, and it's really hard for us to access some of those important documents like birth certificates and stuff like that, to get our clients onto benefits in crisis situations.
The easiest way would be to appoint them an agent.
Right.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we still have our processing standards that we need to meet with identification and bank accounts.
Right.
We've used a lot of that, so now to grant the benefit, all we need is ID and bank account verification, and the rest of the documents you can bring in at a later date. You have 20 working days to bring them in.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the application form, the ID, and the bank account.
And some of that can be uploaded as well,
Yeah.
and sent to us in a different way, which is all new and smarter ways of working than we've done in the past as well, which may be helpful for some of the clients that you're supporting as well, I hope.
Yep.
Clients can now take photographs and send them through. That is a temporary standard, so that will come to an end at some point. We haven't been given a date for that yet. But they can take photographs of their ID and email it or upload it to their MyMSD. So therefore, they don't need to drop original documents now down to the office. So yeah, it makes it a lot easier in that way.
And again, like these are temporary measures while we're still at COVID level 2, and that could all change. We don't get notifications sometimes until midnight the night before of the changes that's coming in the next day. So yeah, I'm happy to meet again and give you any updates as things change as well, if that's helpful.
I have a question regarding getting called back. I'm working Salvation Army, working with a client, getting them into emergency accommodation. And I managed to find them a motel and a quote for the motel. And I called the 0800 number with them. They were waiting for a call back. So they were told that a case worker would call them back to give them an email address where they could send that quote and that the quote would be paid. Unfortunately, my client never got a call back, didn't get an email that day. And this was it was a Monday, and they didn't get called back. And so, of course, the motel gave the quote to someone else. And it was simply just waiting. Is there any way we can
Emergency housing is a little bit as our one-off different space. So emergency housing, we need to see people face to face, and so they come through a request and we want to see everyone face to face to make sure that we're making really good decisions and supporting people in the right way. So emergency housing across the Western Bay of Plenty. At the moment, Rotorua is struggling to meet demand face to face, and they're doing some of theirs over the phone. In the Western Bay of Plenty at the moment, so that covers our Tauranga Service Centre, Mount Maunganui Service Centre, Te Puke and Greerton. We are seeing the emergency housing when it's their first event, that we are seeing them face to face. We're providing a face to face service in that space. So the request from the contact centre is for a face to face appointment so that we can see them that same day to make sure that they're getting the service that they need. So if you've had a case that hasn't worked like that, I know through Salvation Army you've got some really good links into our housing team in the Rotorua. Feel free to let us know about that.
Yeah, I just sort of, at the moment, I understand the capacity is huge. So the emails keep coming back. But yeah, got there in the end, but it's not the only time. So it's just the level 2 COVID issue, I suppose. Okay, all right, thank you.
And what about the people that aren't able to come and do face-to-face with you at WINZ? Like we've got patients here in the hospital that aren't able to physically...
There's an exception to every rule for sure. And if a client has a health reason that they can't come in, that would be the #1 reason that we would accept not to be seeing them face-to-face, and we can do that over the phone. And again, if they're even showing COVID-like health symptoms. We don't want them coming into the service centre at the moment anyway, and that would be a time when we would do that service over the phone. So before we bring anyone into the service centre, we do the COVID check around, have you had any flu-like symptoms yourself? Have you been in contact with anyone else with flu-like symptoms? So those screens are done before we would bring anyone into the service centre anyway. And if they did, then of course we would definitely look at a phone service in that space. And we wouldn't preclude them from service, but just look at service in a different way.
Okay, cool.
Can I just ask a question about emergency housing? If a client has been in emergency housing previously and was evicted from one of the moteliers, are they able to reapply? Sorry, it was two questions there. And also, no, maybe go with that one first.
Emergency housing is another space that's about to change, and it comes into effect from the
19th of October.
19th of October. So from the 19th of October going forward, clients that are in emergency housing will be needing to contribute 25% of their income to the cost as well. So this was a change that was meant to come in prior COVID. That was put on hold by government and will be coming back into effect from the 19th of October as well. So that's one thing. An answer to your question, yeah, everyone has the right to retest eligibility. We'd need to unpack it and understand that and look at where things are at. You know, there have been some very complex cases coming through where there's been extensive damage done to motels, and we need to try and find a way forward. So yeah, happy to work together, and that's where we'd be looking to you to help us with those ones as well, to see, you know, what is the best way forward, or what wraparound support's in place to make sure that we've got that support in place to see them be phenomenal going forward, and not dwell on what's happened in the past, but actually look at what that looks like going forward and what opportunity there is. And sometimes it's around wellness as well. So have they got a wellness plan? Have they got some support in the community to be able to be in emergency housing as well? So yeah, it's an interesting space, isn't it? So yeah, welcome to emergency housing.
So would it be beneficial for those who maybe have been previously declined to have an advocate go in prepared with a plan?
Oh, a plan would be phenomenal, because it helps us understand what that looks like, and to see that they've got some support in place to change those behaviours and things like that as well would really help us in making a really good decision going forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Speaking of the housing, because we've still got a bit more time, I've actually been through the what was on the agenda, Desley, so that's really awesome. So I'm just going to chuck a question in there, and that is around social housing and the process for application. I'm just wondering if others are aware, when I did advocacy previously, that sort of advocacy, I'd bring the clients into my office. Actually, I'd pick them up and bring them in and have them sit there and already have that appointment agent form all set up and signed, and then I'd sit there in my office with my clients as they're going through the actual social housing assessment. So is that still available? Is that still possible?
Yeah, it's one of the spaces we've got a little bit behind in. So during COVID level 3 and 4, all of the social housing assessments were put on hold, because what also happened in COVID level 4 and 3 is that any of our rough sleepers and that were picked up off the street and housed, and we had a whole heap of different things in place with civil defence emergencies under level 4, where we had a lot of other stakeholders and relationships that helped in that space as well. So of course at that time we had to put something on hold to be able to ensure that people were having a roof over their head and had kai, and so at that stage we put that on hold. So in level 2 we've been able to start to pick that ball back up again and doing those social housing assessments, and we are behind in that space, but we are picking them up. We've got a team working on that at the moment, and yes, we definitely would encourage anyone having a social housing assessment that has got advocacy and support out there to have them be part of that, because it's quite a long interview, as Joy would know. There's a lot of questions, and sometimes it's in the moment you can forget things. So if your agent or advocate is there with you, it'll just help you remember all of the things that you're faced with as a family, and that we get that assessment, so that assessment in the system then indicates what's happening for that family and is correct. So any support for the client in that space is gratefully received, please and thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Are there any social houses available, Desley? Throw that in.
It's definitely such a big wait list that if there's something available, there'll be people getting interviewed for those opportunities for sure. So as fast as they can bring on more opportunities, we've got a wait list of people waiting there to be pulled from it. I suppose one of the things I could throw at you guys as well as you're working with our people is sometimes there may be other areas that are an option. And at the moment, as you know, you're working in this area, you've seen the price of rentals and you know that we don't have a lot of social houses. But is there another area where that client could be phenomenal with the right support as well that they're prepared to look at? Because the wider the search is for the individual, the higher the chance of them matching to that opportunity going forward. So, but you know what's right for your clients, you're working with them. So yeah, you'll be able to help guide them in that space.
Awesome.
Can I just ask a question with the social housing as well? If they are added to the register, social housing register, and they've got a live application, in instances where they may have been moved into an internal wait list, do they need to be consistently contacting MSD to stay on? Because I recently had a scenario where she had been, or a client had been placed on a internal wait list, made some adjustments to her original application, and then found out later through APL, I think it was, that she wasn't showing up as registered on the register. So it got sorted out, but I'm just wondering, is there a time frame when they drop off? No? Okay. So if
we
they've...
have been outbound calling them like we were prior COVID. So anyone on the wait list was getting an outbound call from our housing team up in Auckland just to see, you know, because things do change, and check in to see if anything had changed. Those calls have been put on hold because the team have come on board and helping doing special needs grants for food and those sorts of things. So we've had to move our workforce around to meet that demand at different times. But hopefully from Tuesday, they might be back doing their core business, which would be really awesome as well.
Okay, cool, thanks.
I have a question from one of my colleagues that I just need to read out, if that's okay.
Sure.
We have heard here in the hospital that WINZ are not putting people on the housing register unless they're in emergency accommodation. And is this the case?
Yes, that was the case in COVID level 3, absolutely yes. But when we moved to level 2, that's changed again. So we weren't doing those assessments through level 4 and level 3, and we were only looking at doing social housing assessments for those that were in emergency housing at that time. Yes, that was correct, but as the COVID levels have changed, we're back to providing that service. Again, we've had to use a lot of our workforce to come back in and make sure that New Zealanders are getting in payment. And so we've been using some of our workforce in different ways. So we haven't been offering up as many social housing assessments as we had historically. We're hoping to pick that up going forward as well. We are getting staff trained in that space at the moment and hope to increase that because we are a little bit behind in that space.
Cool, thank you.
Gosh, so it really does pay them to keep regularly updated with what's, so you guys are getting those changes on the daily, sounds like it. So thank you for this. Okay. Is there any more questions that anybody may have?
Yeah, I've got another question.
Bye-bye.
So this is a really cool space that you guys have got here. Our social services team just let me join in today as a comms person, but in my comms space, I don't see anything like this out on the ground. So when I went into WINZ one time with my cousin to ask for some Māori support for us as Māori, they suggested Te Toinga Whānau and Ngaitirangi, and they're not here today. But none of you guys were suggested either, and you're all doing incredible work for our whānau in the work and income space. Desley, can I ask you, do you have any plans, or can we discuss turning this into some sort of something where we can actually refer our whānau on to all of these different people? I only know about half of you guys, which is cool. Hi everyone. But for the other half, I wouldn't know to refer whānau on. And so when people come to us, or to me, or the radio, or whatever else, I only know a couple of you fellas in here, but yeah, it'd be really cool to actually get a list of people that can help our Māori whānau in particular?
I could probably help you in that space in terms of who's in here today. We've in my role as Māori engagement advisor, that's exactly what I do. Is I engage with our Māori providers in the social sector. So probably on a fortnightly basis, we go out to our Māori providers, particularly when there are things in the Te Ao Māori space that I think would be really relevant for our providers. So it all boils down to networking, and getting to know your community.
I'm like the networker of networkers here. So
we've just also started to have a couple of new roles come on board that are based in our Rotorua regional office, and I'm trawling on the other computer here trying to find them for you as we speak. But we have a couple of iwi relationship coordinators that have come on board, and we've also got a couple of our program coordinators out based in iwi at the moment as well. I'm scrambling to try and find all the names of our new people that have joined us, but maybe if you wouldn't mind, I could email it through to Joy so that she's got the contact details to put out to this network, if that would be all right.
Can you email it directly to us at Ranginui, please? I'm not too sure where you work, Joy, but I've never heard of you.
Social. Down the road from you, actually. Tatai and your CEO know who I am. They're connected to the network that I'm with here.
I don't have your individual emails, but if it's all right, I will pop it out to Joy so that she can get it out to this network, if that's okay. Just because, or otherwise you can flick me an email or something. I'm not sure, but maybe if I go through Joyce and you're kind enough to set up this forum, if I just send it to you, you can send it out to this forum. Is that okay, Joy?
Hi, Desley.
Desley, is there any intentions or any to create a space for community NGOs to meet with you? Like, I think just following up on the previous kōrero, where we are able to come together and just kind of like table what's happening for our whānau that we're working with, similar to this again, but is there any plans to develop a forum like that?
I definitely think that that's where we're heading, because we know we can't do this without you guys. You guys are so important to our families out there. You're on the ground, you know what's happening, you're connected to what's available for our clients, more so than we are. And we can't do this kaupapa by ourselves. We need you guys. And I think, as we go forward in our learnings, there's been so many learnings through COVID. Something that's not so great, COVID, has actually given us a whole heap of really cool learnings as well. And but I suppose our focus has been making sure that people get in payment first and foremost. And because that's increased in demand big time for us, that's been our full focus at the moment. But like I said, as we get through these levels, we're starting to look more strategically at around how we can connect up with our community to do it better, and we can't do it without you. So I think there is opportunity for us to work together going forward. And as I was saying, there's the new roles that have come on board. I haven't even met them. I'm going to meet them next Tuesday. If the levels drop, we get to meet all these people that have been appointed into the regional office next Tuesday. And from there, I'll get to know a little bit more about their key roles. But a lot of it is more around social development and working with our communities and strengthening our networking and connections and things like that as well. So as I learn, I'll pass it through Joy, and we'll get it out to you guys. It's okay.
Cool. Awesome, whānau. So that's one of the things that I raised with Desley, and that I'd like to actually progress that is regular forums like this, and we are going to be discussing that in more detail, Desley and I. So I think it's a good kaupapa, and I also think it's really important, especially for the social workers, because you guys are the ones that are doing that mahi out there on the ground. So it's really helpful. It's really helpful for our whānau and individuals out there that are under you guys that you're advocating for. So I would love to see this continue on a regular basis, because I think that, ko te kai a te rangatira he kōrero. So knowledge is powerful, and if you can pass that knowledge on to your clients, then you're doing them a great favour. You really are. So yeah, this is something that I'd like to continue to work with and to move forward. So watch our space in the pānui as they come out to you guys anyway. Yeah.
So Desley, sorry, I've just got one more question from Alize Noble here. She works in our whare with our rangatahi who are in transitional housing. Yeah. Is that, what do you do? That's what you're doing. Okay. Also, so just really quickly, what is your WINZ definition of homeless? Just, do you have a tick box list? No, it's all just individual circumstances.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go, you say it. I can't read.
Sorry, she can't read my writing. It looks a little bit scribbly.
That's all right.
Basically, the second question is, what's the definition of what is the function of an integrated case manager, and do they still exist within your guys' organisation?
Sure. So yeah, and they're becoming more, we've had some different roles come on board, like I was explaining. One of them is an integrated service response in housing. And so what they're doing is working more closely with those that have been in emergency housing for a longer period of time, or that have got complex needs, whether that be mental health, whether that be large families, because some of our large families are really struggling to get connected to private rentals and things like that as well. And so we have an integrated service response housing case manager. That is a mouthful, isn't it? Based one in Greaton at the moment, one in Tauranga, and one in the Mount Maunganui Service Centre at the moment. And so they have, I think it's a caseload of 20 to 30 that they're working with in that space. We've also got a housing broker that's come on board since COVID, that's sort of working out there, looking at landlords to see at different ways that we can get them to come on board and offer opportunities to our clients as well for sustainable housing, not just temporary housing, but sustainable housing as well. So like I said to you, there's been quite a few different roles coming across the ministry at the moment, and thanks for raising that.
Are we able to get a copy? Are we able to get their contact details for all, in terms of the different staff and the different roles that they have that you've talked about today? Do you have like a contact list so that we could, contact them directly, or is it same apply? If
clients are engaged with them, they're going to know that, because like I said, they've only got small caseloads of 20 to 30 that they're working with. So if your clients are working with them, they will know that. But yeah, I'm sure I can. So we have a housing manager based in Rotorua, and his name is Alistair.
Yeah.
And so he works across the Bay of Plenty area, and he manages these roles as well. So I'm sure I can have a little chat with Alistair and get some details for you at no extra fee today.
Cool. Thank you.
I was really nervous about talking to you all today. I'm not a public speaker, but you've made it quite easy for me. So thank you for that as well. Hey, and I was talking to Joy about, bringing some others on board and getting to meet the managers from Tauranga and the Mount and things like that as well, rather than having to listen to me each time. So we might share it round and give you a bit of a different flavour next time, and get the opportunity to talk to a different manager from a different site. And yeah, a big thanks to Kang, because she's like me, a little bit nervous about doing public speaking. So yeah, you've made it really nice for us. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. And just that opportunity to say thank you from our clients for the amazing work that you do on a daily basis. We really appreciate what you're doing.
You're awesome, girl.
Kia ora. Kia ora, Desley. If there are no more questions, are there any more last questions, last chance?
So is this going to be a regular thing that we do to keep up to date with WINZ?
That is the, that's the whole idea.
Can we be working income? We're not WINZ anymore. Can we be working income?
Okay, working income.
That'd be lovely. Thank you.
No, you can be woman in income.
You can be whatever you want to be.
Or wahine in income. There you go.
Wahine toa, that says it all. Oh,
Yes.
oh, my Alex.
Aye.
All right. Well, based on that those conversations, some really good conversations going here, and I just want to, first of all, I want to thank you, Desley and Tanya. I know it's a nerve-wracking thing. I get that myself most of the time. But thank you both so much for your time and coming in and having this conversation with our social workers across the Western Day. I just want to thank you, and I look forward to catching up with you again. And we'll have more discussion around the next forum for this kaupapa here. I'd also like to just put this out here and say thank you all to those of you who have come in today. There was a huge response for this forum. So I just want to say thank you all. And I hope that it's been really relevant. I'm sure it has been relevant to the mahi that you all do out there. So thank you. And I shall be sending out a pānui for the next forum, for when that's going to happen. And it'll also go onto our Social Link website and Facebook page and our newsletter if you don't get the pānui from me. But otherwise, we will see you all in the next forum. And thank you all so very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Guys.